Good evening, everyone. Glad to have everybody for the July Delta Amateur Radio Club monthly board meeting. Um, my only opening statement that I'll have is it was a fantastic field day and loved it. I'm going to kick it over to Perry for a quick roll call and kick us off.
All right, President Joe Plunk,
Present.
Vice President Tyler Henley, Secretary Perry Hayes is present, Treasurer Paul Broom. I see Paul, he might be muted.
Present.
Present and accounted for. Director of Programs, Adam White.
Present.
Director of Meetings and Special Events, Josh Cunningham.
Here.
Director of Publications, Jonathan Urschel.
Present.
Director of Training, Joe Lowenthal.
Here.
Repeater Trustee, Dan Fleek.
Here.
And Club Historian, John Reiners. We do have a quorum, Mr. President.
Thanks so very much, Perry. Appreciate that greatly. Good to have everyone here tonight. Fantastic field day. Just appreciate everybody's effort on that. It was a lot of fun. I had a ton of fun with that. Real quick, I don't have it pulled up, but I'll just kind of give you a quick recap of what I've done. So I've done some research. I'll share it with you real quick. I was very curious because I had never, in my recent memory, ever heard of the club being larger than a 3A or a 4A. So I went all the way back to 2000 using the ARRL's records, and the largest that the club ever was a 5A. So the 6A operation that we had this year was a phenomenal operation from just size, scope, complexity, a good effort to get a bunch of operators all working together in one space. I was super thrilled with it. Clubs made more contacts. The clubs made more points, but they haven't had as many active transmitters before. So I was just a real successful accomplishment, and I feel, for the club. So that's my opening statement. And just that was a huge appreciation to everyone that made that work, because it was not a single person's effort. That was a huge team that pulled that off. And the last thing I'll say on that is I have to say the tri-bander, I'm now very spoiled. That absolutely changed how I look at Yagi antennas for HF.
It was like cheating, wasn't it?
Oh my Lord, yes. It's game changing. All right. Thank you, Perry, for circulating the minutes of the past minutes. With that, I'll just ask real quick, is there any discussion of those before we kind of approve those to pass on to the membership? All right. Seeing no discussion around that, I would entertain a motion to approve those for passing on to the membership.
I'll make a motion to submit them as submitted.
A second.
Motion made by Jonathan, seconded by Dan. All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Motion approved to pass the meeting minutes on to the membership as approved. Note that Tyler has joined us. All right, moving right along. I'll flip over to the membership renewals and applications and kick it over to Paul and Perry.
Can you hear me?
We can now. You had a little bit of a freeze there.
Oh, I'm having connection issues. My apologies.
Yeah, go ahead and drop your video.
So I had
drop
5
video.
applications. So we had 5 applications. Well, 4 applications. One's a family membership. We have one from Ryan Turner, and I don't have the actual application. That one came in through Square. But then we have 2 individual renewals, Michael Albinetti and Barry Monday. Got those at the meeting. And then I received one in the mail just recently from Dan Werner for he and Janet. So those are all the applications I have.
All right. Thank you, Paul. Is there any discussion around the applications that Paul has presented to us?
My records are showing that Barry, Dan, and Janet are paid already for 2006. I'll check with Paul when the physical applications come in, but it might be that that'll take them into 2027, but I'll check on that once the hard copies come in.
Right.
Harry, I put those out on the shared drive, but
Okay.
yeah, he wanted to count this for 27 and 28. He paid 2 years.
Oh, okay. Good deal. Good deal.
That's paying it ahead. All right. If there are no other discussions around the membership applications, would entertain a motion to approve.
I'd move that we approve all of the applications as presented by Paul.
I second.
Motion by Perry, seconded by Jonathan. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Motion carried unanimously. Fantastic. We'll move right along into our treasurer's report. Should be a quick meeting tonight, hopefully.
Yeah, a short report this month. The only real transactions we had were those memberships that we just talked about. When you see the numbers above, you'll see 3 total listed. That's because Dan's came in after the end of June, so it'll reflect in the July treasurer's report. And as far as everything else, the only thing we had were Huntsville bus receipts, basically. We received 2,075 there. The square fees were $42.91, which if you look at the individual transactions in the bank statement, this fees have already been netted out, but I show them gross just so that we can keep easier record of it and then show square fees separately. That's really all I have. We have the one cent check to Joe Plunk for the Zoom renewal. That's basically it.
Sorry, Paul, it's still in the fridge. All right. And that was these are our CDs.
Oh yeah, the CDs, no changes there, no interest received. They're basically the same as they were last month.
All right. Are there any questions, discussion around the treasurer's report?
I make a motion that we, on the square transactions, that the dues, the $20 dues be 21 if they pay by square. And if they pay for the Huntsville bus trip for the $120, it'd be $125. The $30 for the class material would be $30 because what it cost us is a little bit less than $30 for multiple HRP seats. So I make a motion that the dues be $21 on square and $125 for the Huntsville bus trip.
All right. Point of order real quick, Joe. Can I ask you to table that motion for just a minute because we're not in new business and we're trying to approve the treasurer's report. Not that that motion's not inappropriate, but just not the right place. We'll circle back, promise. Any objections to that? Anyone? All right. Fantastic. All right, so looking to get approval for the treasurer's report. I would entertain a motion to approve the treasurer's report as presented by Paul.
I move that we accept the treasurer's report as presented.
Second.
Second, presented by Perry, seconded by Dan. Motion is to approve the treasurer's report as presented. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Fantastic. Report passes. All right. We'll come back to you, Joe. I promise. Give me just a minute. Does anybody have any new bills or a presentation of bills that they need to present for payment?
Paul, I just sent you an email with 2 invoices, one for the Kraken SDR and one for the case for the Raspberry Pi.
Okay.
As you know, the ARDC said we could purchase those before funds were dispersed. So
Correct. So, Paul, just to bring everybody up to speed, the ARDC granted our grant request to purchase a Kraken SDR. That funding process is a little slow, but they did say that they do not have any problems with reimbursement being used. So Adam has graciously pre-funded that and purchased that and is presenting it at Ham 101. So the invoice he's submitting is for reimbursement for the Kraken SDR. So that will be presented. And you've got the Raspberry Pi. Did the grant cover the case for the Pi, or do we need to use discretionary funds for that?
it was all in the grant.
Fantastic. All right. So, Paul, that should be the grant wasn't approved, so it's not a budget. We'll have to work through that, but we'll get the bill presented and paid. Any other bills that we have outstanding for payment?
112 for Huntsville bus trip I sent to Paul. And then also for the tech class, probably about $135 roughly for HRP seats.
Okay. Very good. Any additional bills? All right. We'll cover real quick the meeting topics. Paul, let me know if you have any additional questions or needs on those bills that were just presented. The Huntsville bus trip is budgeted, so those are direct pay. Correct me if I'm wrong, the tech class, I don't know, is that?
There's some money for materials, but it'll be.
I'm just thinking about the procedure, Joe. I'm sorry, I was just thinking through that because it's technically not in the budget. So we'll have.
Well, it hadn't been presented yet. It's just coming up.
I understand. I'm just thinking through the procedural process of it because our club has a very regimented way that we have to deal with how funding takes care of it. We're just trying to honor that. That's all I was thinking through. Yes, sir. All right, we'll get that taken care of. With that, Adam, real quick, meeting topics. We'll just throw the table over to you for just a minute, and we'll get into new business pretty quick.
We're going to discuss the 14682 repeater repairs and for the club to approve those. And I did submit a grant for that. That goes up to 5,000. And then we're going to recap field day, do a little debrief.
Fantastic. All right. I'm looking forward to Ham 101 and seeing the Kraken. All right.
I'm ready for that. We'll stick it on top of the Crown Vic and pile into it, and we'll go looking for signal.
That'll be fun. All right, Dan, I'm going to assume that we're going to defer the repeater report because we got a whole topic on that. I haven't heard anything on the bylaws. Steve is working on the dates for the expo, so we'll move into new business. Real quick, just remind everybody it is a Sparks week. Jonathan would love to have our articles as early as he could get them. I'll talk about field day real quick and kind of go over some statistics, and then we'll talk about the repeater. Joe, I'll add I'll add your topic. There, and we'll talk about it. Fair enough. Field day was a huge success in my book. We operated as a 6A. We had 6 active transmitters, which is fantastic. It was a little bit of a coordination getting everybody working at the same time. A huge shout out to the Tylers family. They came up and rocked the airwaves. They made some transatlantic contacts, and Fanny got to make one as well too. So it was a fantastic day. We had total 882 contacts. We had 17 operators. I think I had said 12. I went back and looked, and we actually had 17 actual operators. Our go-to station had 63 contacts with 5 youth, and we operated for over 24 hours, and those are the highlights. So congratulations to everyone that helped out with field day. Fantastic experience. Was super thankful that we had just a ton of fun. And the weather cooperated. It was not brutally hot, nor did we get wet. So that was a huge win. All right. Repeater. We've got well, I could talk about this, but I'll defer to Adam or Dan if y'all want to take the floor. I know y'all have worked and collaborated.
A little bit. I haven't talked to Adam much about it.
That's fair. All right, go ahead, Dan.
So I don't have any updates other than what your slide showed at the last meeting.
Gotcha.
The bids, I can't remember which ones were which. There's 2 bids at 2,000 and then one at 3,000. Did one of those 2,000 a day include the Jonesboro guy that drove down, or was that the 3,000?
No, that he was Varco Towers is the $3,000 a day, and they came over from Jonesboro. And they would actually be, based on my interactions with them and talking with them, my recommendation to the board. I know it's the higher bid, but just based on that, they work with it every day. They've been they on their own effort came over to help us as a pre-work. I would recommend them as our preferred bid for that, for a lot of reasons. They brought a lot of expertise and a lot of education to the club to try to help us really make the best decisions as to how to solve this problem permanently.
They were the ones that suggested the different connectors, I think.
They were suggesting the DIN connector, which is a completely different style of connector for the top of the coax. The manufacturer of that connector guarantees it to be waterproof for the remaining coax, even if the O-rings are compromised, that's pretty impressive. So for a connector to be at the top of the tower and to be able to have that waterproofness kind of guaranteed, I think that's a good thing for something that's very hard for us to get to. But that was a good point, Dan. We would have to re-terminate our jumpers at the top of the tower anyway. We were planning on doing that, so they would be DIN on one end, and I think it's N on the other for the antennas. And then Adam, I think you had looked at the antenna quotes.
Yeah. So I've got it.
from Tally?
Yep. Two BHF antennas is 3563.68, and one UHF is 1,303.78 cents.
So they're at $1,400 a piece instead of 1,800.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
And the I'm sorry, UHF was 1,100 or 14?
1303.
Okay, 1303. Pretty close.
All right. So we will need to, we've had a little bit of email discussion about this, and we had quite a bit of how we want to, the discussion that we as a board need to kind of hone in on is right now, we don't have any grant coming to us to cover any of this cost. All of this cost would be coming out of the club's bank account, basically. So we really need to really look at the cost recommendations that we are looking to make to the membership, as how low do we want to take our reserves, and where does that put us from a club reserve perspective. And Paul has done a yeoman's job of kind of really crunching those numbers for us and giving us some input on that as to where that number kind of needs to be. Paul, not to put you on the spot, but do you have that kind of loosely handy to kind of give us the kind of the high level overview of that? You can just
Sure.
talk us through it.
I had to switch connections because I
Sure.
was having difficulty. So I'm on my phone, so I can't
No worries.
share.
No worries. You can just talk us through, please.
Yeah. So on an ongoing basis, the actual operations of the club, we're running at about a $1,200 a year deficit. And so for these projections, I assumed that we would fully fund the club operations, which would be a reduction from our cash of 1,200. So kind of my estimate was, checking wise, we've got about 22,500. If you deduct the operating expenses for the club that I just mentioned, we actually also got a repeater repair donation already of 1,000. You take out the Huntsville expenses, and if we fully fund the expo at 10,000, then we would reserve about almost 13,000 of our 22,500. So that would leave us about $9,500 in our checking account that would be available to go toward this purchase. But then additionally, we have the 2 CDs that total 17,000. So we've got total available after all those reserves of about $27,000. The CDs mature. The first one for 5,700 matures in September. The second one for 11,000, well, it's approximately 12,000 right now. It matures next May. So near term, we have about 14,000 available, but then another 12,000 will be available next May.
So to kind of recap what I was, the points that I heard on that, and then and then we'll open up the floor to discussion. All funding needs fully reserved. We have about $9,500 of resources that we could commit to the 8-2 repair and still keep the club operation fully funded and keep the expo fully funded, sans any grants that we get or apply for the expo.
Correct.
Okay. If we choose to pull in or potentially cash the earliest maturing CD for approximately $5,000. That potential $5,000 in September could potentially be leveraged toward the repeater repairs if we needed to, or if the grant comes through that for $5,000, that could potentially be funded towards the repeater. That would put us at approximately 9,500 plus $5,000, which, if I'm doing rough math, that'd be about, let's call it a budget of $14,000 and some loose change that rattles around in the pocket. If we either get the grant or convert the CD. Did I misspeak on that?
It sounds roughly.
No, that sounds right.
So the budget that we're kind of looking at for the repeater repair is in the $12,000 to $13,000 range. It looks, based on what we're kind of hearing, depending on a couple of things, it looks like that repeater repair could be fully funded by the club and not impact either the expo or club operations for the 2027 year. With the caveat being that one of two things has got to happen for that to happen. We either need to cash the CD, the $5,000 CD that matures in September, or receive the $5,000 grant that Adam has applied for repeater repairs.
What's the confidence level on the grant?
I have no assessment on that. We'll know in August.
Okay, so it sounds like we are probably going to need to wait till August, September anyway before we'll know about the grant, and then whether or not then we'll be up against possibly cashing in that CD. So,
well,
Yeah.
That brings up a very good point. That gives us the opportunity to potentially, to your point, Jonathan, I think where you were headed with, not to cut you off, is that we could potentially start phasing the purchases of the necessary things needed, and the tower climb itself, which is approximately $6,000 because it's a 2-day climb, would be the last thing that we would have to fund, and we could either wait for the grant or the CD. But we could potentially approve funding for antenna purchase and connector purchases and start gathering those parts and pieces in hand so that they're in preparation for when we have to make a decision on how we're going to fund the climb. I'm not trying to speak for anyone, but just kind of we have some phasing options.
Yeah, and the quotes for the climbs aren't going to get more expensive as those quotes age.
Not so far. They've committed to holding the cost on those quotes for the club. I'll reach back out and confirm that.
Okay.
I've got a question. If it's $6,000 for the climb and $1,400 each for the antennas, and then connectors, it's looks like it's about $11,000.
Potentially, there's at least $1,000 that came off when I reduced the cost of the antennas, and I didn't really update this. But the other thing that we probably are going to need to do, to that point, Joe, is we probably need to reserve a little bit more just in case something pops up, or we forgot something, or there's a handful of brackets that we need, or we need to purchase 20 feet of coax, those little miscellaneous things that we'll have to work through. That was the thought process.
I think Adam also mentioned that there was going to be some trip expense to go get those antennas, right? So that has to be in there as well.
I think that was about $500, if I remember correct.
Yeah,
now, one of the other things that go ahead, I'm sorry, Dan.
Man, I had a thought and it went. I think it was those specialized connectors, the DIN connectors. Is that part of the 6,000 quote? Okay, so all right.
No, sir.
He said it's a nominal increase above regular. They already spent all the money on the tools and got their money back in servicing them. So each connector costs a little bit more than a normal one, but it's not extravagant. I can share the budget I submitted with the grant if you'd like.
If you like, go ahead. Let me find the right button to allow you to share. I'll stop my share.
And I think too with the grant, it is up to 5,000. It may not be 5,000. It could be 2,000,
Right,
which is still better than zero.
right.
Correct. But one of the things that I do want to try to get us as a board to is I want to try to get us to a consensus of what we want to recommend to our membership as to the path that we want to take forward. I think we've all kind of agreed and we all agree that we want to do a split transmit and a split receive so that the 8.2 has a split transmitter antenna at 500, transmitter at 700 and receive it. I get it backwards. Correct me, Dan, Adam.
Receive on top, transmit on bottom.
Receive at 700 and transmit at 500, using and leveraging the two low loss 1 5/8 coax runs up the tower, and then the UHF repeater seems to be doing fine on the 7/8 coax. It's got an amp, so it's pushing. It's got a little oomph helping it. So that's why I was trying to talk through the options for everyone and try to get us kind of to a point where we can crystallize and say, okay, to our membership, this is what we recommend that we do. And the last thing that I will mention, just like last year when we brought the DMR repeater online and we asked the membership for just a simple, hey, what would you be willing to make as a one-time donation? Membership made a one-time donation, $500 right on the spot, basically, and covered the cost of a hotspot spot in a year's service. We could potentially ask that question again to the membership, and we might be surprised at what comes in. Our membership is part of a 501c3, so we do have that advantage that we do. And we haven't asked for that yet. So that's why one of the last things that I'll say, and then I'm going to pause and take a deep breath and let somebody else speak, is if we can present our plan, then that gives us the opportunity to say, this is the plan, this is what we're asking for. What do you think is the membership you can help us with, and what would you like for us to do?
So do we as a board organization on Paul's end, do we have to provide documentation for those donations at the end of the year for taxes? Like, let's say the $1,000 donation that we got the other day, right? Are you gonna have to give that person the form that says they donated that or not?
Yeah, and I've already given it to her.
Okay. So that would just be not a big deal.
Those are no big deal at all.
Okay, cool. I mean, it seems entirely reasonable, Joe. I mean, we just give everybody the state of the situation and
Yep.
and the timing is kind of weird because we won't know about the grant until maybe August, late August. We can't do anything with the CD until September anyway, so we kind of,
What I
order the
was going to
things.
say to that, Jonathan, is I do feel comfortable that, and Paul, correct me if I'm wrong with this, we could, if the membership said, and the membership has to approve this. This is a completely non-budgeted item, so the membership will have to approve this. The membership could say, go do it next week. I doubt we'd be able to line the vendors up that fast, but we could try. Where I was going to say with that is, Jonathan, we could potentially, the $5,000 that's in the CD, we have the cash reserves to fund that. We would just have to wait to replenish the cash reserves until September when the CD came to term. And we just have to acknowledge that that's what would happen if we chose. Let's say we wanted to execute all of this in August. We approve it in July meeting in next week, and the membership says execute as fast as you can conceivably execute it, which would mean, okay, try to get it done in August. We would have to basically say, okay, we're going to have to encumber the funds with the understanding that the reserves that Paul talked about would be used, but could be replenished via the CD that was coming to term in September. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah. We got enough cash in the bank now to write a check and cash the CD to cover next year.
Just backfill it and then
Backfill it.
ask for donations if anybody feels generous.
Correct.
Yeah, I mean that seems reasonable.
Okay.
So if we
So
get
what
I was going to ask another question. If we get
go ahead, absolutely.
if we get the $5,000 grant, what's the difference between well, so I guess it's just going to offset the 11 or 12 that we're going to spend, or 13, whatever it would be. So then we'd only have to cover what did you say, 9,500 or 9,000 something?
Yeah, roughly 9,000 or so.
Okay.
Well, 8,000 because we got a donation of 1,000.
The one thing that I would cautionarily put out there, the grant is one of those, that particular grant is not one of those grants that allows really for, correct me if I'm wrong, Adam, it's not kind of a reimbursement grant, meaning it's don't spend your money until we give you the money to spend kind of things. So what we'd want to do is take the temperature on the grant committee of what their thoughts were on that grant. And that might be one of the reasons that we can kind of do some of these things in phases. Let's, acquire all the hardware materials and all the parts and pieces. And then as we start marching towards getting it done, we get more insight as to what that grant might do. Without really, because the grant would fully cover the tower climb almost. The grant and the donation that we already have received would cover the tower climb. The $5,000 grant, if we get it all, plus the $1,000 donation that we've already received from a very generous member, would cover $6,000 or 2 days worth of tower climb.
Adam, what's your understanding of what their expectation is for that specific grant? Like, would they be okay with it just going towards the climb, or is it just general repairs, or you're on mute?
Do we need to wait until
Adam's
the
on
whole
mute.
thing, or can we buy all the antennas parts and then wait for them to?
I mean, I made it clear that this project's happening regardless, and the budget is more than double the maximum grant amount. So the grants helps, but their goal is not to be the sole funding source. But I did talk to the coordinator as well as David Norris, who's in charge of the grant committee, and they both said it's a viable plan, and a suitable application for this grant. So
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I'm sorry I got in late, but I don't know if y'all knew it or not. I went up to Knoxville a couple of weeks ago for their Amfest and saw David Norris there. And we were talking about, the grant for the expo. And while we were talking about that, I mentioned, that we, looking at a grant for the repeater upgrades, and he said he knew that, and he seemed real excited about it too. So talking to him in person, with everything else that we're doing, he sees that as something that he can get behind and support. So
we didn't talk about any amounts, obviously, but it's something he's, with everything else we're doing, he's excited to help support us.
Well, I think last meeting we discussed over 600 unique call signs have checked into our nets over the last 5 or 6 years, and it's the beacon on the hill.
Well, that and everything with the storm watch and everything else, I think he realizes that it's a key asset in the whole region.
Yeah, we've got like a 5 county footprint.
The footprint's pretty impressive with that. So here's what I'd like to do. I've talked it kind of through, and I'd really make sure that we're communicating. I'd like to ask for someone else other than me to crystallize this back to the board as a recommendation for us to take to the membership. To me, that's indicative that we've talked it through and it's synthesized, and it's really others understand what we're trying to accomplish, so that we can get that kind of back to the board, and Perry can record that and we can present that back to the membership. I do hear pretty strongly that I think this is going to needs to be funded. We have the ability to fund this and not all in one big chunk, because we got to kind of nibble at it, knowing that we're trying to walk towards the grant or the CD, one or the other. And we have the ability also that if the membership says do it pretty quickly, we can honor that request and try to move quickly to get it done. So those are my final thoughts, and then I would turn the tables over to someone to kind of resynthesize that back into the action plan.
I can do it if you guys will send me the information on the cost. I'm currently out of town, so I'm kind of limited in what I can do quickly, but I'd be happy to do it.
Oh, that's fine. What I was looking for, Paul, really is just a synthesis back to the board, because we really need to kind of dot our I and cross our T's. We need to kind of approve taking this to the membership, because as this being is that this is a completely unbudgeted item, and we're asking from anywhere from $11,000 to $12,000 from the membership. We're going to have to say, okay, membership, we need you to approve this $11,500 unbudgeted expense. Here's what the expense encompasses, and here's what we're planning on doing with it, so that we can then crystallize that back to the membership saying, this is what we're asking you to do. Here's what the impact is to the club from a financial reserves point of view, and these are the impacts. Funding sources included are potentially the grant coming through, or the grant doesn't come through at all. We cash in the CD and we fully fund it, self-fund it. And who knows, we may end up with somebody that says, hey, they'll make a field trip to Kansas City and that's their donation to pick up the antennas. We don't know yet. Because one of the other things is, if we present all of the steps that we need, and this is something that Dan potentially can help us with, all of the steps that we need to accomplish for the repeater repair. And I think we put together a slide deck for the last membership meeting, but we didn't go through it because we ran out of time. Here's all the steps. The membership may say, hey, we'll take care of step 1, 5, and 7 this way, however, or whatever. That's really kind of what I'm trying to look for from a consensus of the board. What do we
I
want to
make a
take to our
motion that
membership
we
and recommend?
present to the club $14,000 budget based on staging the purchase of the antennas and connectors first through existing funds, and waiting until either the grant or the CD comes around to do the climb.
Okay. Motion made by Joe.
Second that motion.
Yep.
Jonathan seconds that. And this is to present it to the membership. So all in favor of the motion to present this to the membership, please raise and say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. That
And-
motion passed.
And I
Go
can
ahead.
do a technical recap too. That might be just a couple of slides just so people know this is why we're buying this many antennas. This is what it looks like.
I think that would be helpful.
I know we talked about it a couple meetings ago, but it's like a picture representation and a summary of what it provides
All
that
right.
I can do.
Adam, would you like for me to share that link and open it up?
Oh, Adam did.
Oh.
He may have done all that for us.
So here's all he has this should be out under the repeater documents folder. Here's all of the documents that he has out in the folder. This was the slide that he put together.
Yeah.
And the tally quote,
Sorry, I was
we
muted.
can expand it. That's okay.
Yeah, you're not sharing, by the way. So this folder has the Brunswick, the budget that I submitted with the grant and all of the answers to the questions, and then the rest of it is templates and just some reference information.
This was this deck that he put together.
That's the deck we submitted or presented the last meeting. The spreadsheet titled budget spreadsheet. That's what I submitted.
Does the tower climbers, I mean, they've got a lot of analytical equipment. And I've been following, I guess, other communication companies. Do they have the ability to tune a duplexer? And the reason I ask that is that I think a duplexer behaves slightly different when it's set up for a single antenna than dual antenna. So there might be some retuning.
I will certainly reach out and ask that question.
That's just, if not, we may have to get somebody to come in before we split off two antennas.
Do you need a duplexer? I mean, you want some kind of filtering, but
yeah, I'm not sure. That's just a question. I mean, I've run across in.
That'd be a good Michael Knight question.
I don't know if they've ever done split antennas or not, but I mean, it's
that
pretty.
Might also be a good question to ask the tower company, because they are a commercial radio company. They may have some insight on that. I do want to take a minute, and I apologize, Dan. I want to table that for a minute. I do want to circle back around because Tyler has a hard stop in 9 minutes, and I want to honor the fact that Joe wanted to make a motion, and I wanted to have the opportunity for everyone to discuss that. So we can come back to that, but I know Tyler has a hard stop, and I want to honor Joe's motion. So Joe, you want to bring back to the table what you were talking about, please?
I recommend that on Square purchases on Square that the the $20 membership be $21 on Square, and the $120 Huntsville bus trip be $125 to cover the Square charges that we incur. The $1 charge above the Square charge is 99.3 cents, and the $125 charge, it's $4.43. So we're not really making anything on adding it to the square charge.
All right,
Yeah.
Jonathan, you got your hand raised.
Yeah. Paul, does that present any kind of technical issues with Square? Like, are we just going to go in to Square and instead of $20 make it 21, or won't they just collect more? Won't they just collect more fees?
Well, I mean, they will collect more fees, but to your first question, I would just change the pricing and try to add a note that says it includes processing fee. But then, to your point, the extra revenue would drive a marginally incremental piece of fees that go to them as well.
And I think that's what Joe was trying to explain when he was telling us that the $21, the fee on the $21 is what, 99 cents and some partial, Joe? And the fee on the $125 was $4.90 something cents. So it's less than the amount that we're raising the total price of the purchase.
We're raising the square fee to cover the square charges.
I will remind everybody, we do have a donor that has covered all of our 2026 square fees for the year.
All of them?
Well, there was a budget amount given, under the assumption that we would not exceed we would not use more than the square fee amount that they had donated. But if we have a bunch of purchases and we get a bunch of 100 extra members, that'd be a great problem to have.
Well, do we know if we are approaching exhaustion of that donation, and we can
I
table
do
this?
not. I would have to ask Paul.
I'm not sure on that, Joe. The original estimate was somewhere around $30. And that was before we were using it for other things, like the bus trip and all that.
Yeah. So we will have exceeded that.
I'm sure the donor would cover additional fees. I personally, I understand Joe Lowenthal's point. To me, it's a convenience thing. But I understand the point. So I'm not opposed to increasing the pricing, but I'm also not overly concerned about doing it either. It's not that much money, in my opinion.
Right.
How much was the cap?
I didn't understand the question.
Oh, how much was the donation you were saying, or roughly?
To be honest with you, I don't really remember. It was made during the expo.
Okay.
It was under $50. I don't remember what it was, but it's immaterial.
Okay. Well, because I was just saying, it's what transactions for online are 3.3% plus 30 cents.
So while you're calculating that, I'll state my opinion. I like the fact that it's convenience. I don't necessarily. I mean, there are lots of organizations out there that are passing that convenience fee along. We can choose to be one of them. We can just say, hey, we just want you to pay, and we'll absorb the convenience. Having said that, we are going to have some hard conversations coming forward in the next 6 months, because if you remember, one of the things that Paul did mention is we got to have a conversation around is for the past year or two or three, we've been kind of in deficit spending mode. So we've got to address that at some point. So we'll have to address that one way or the other. And there's not a whole lot of ways to address that.
Well, I would second
All right,
Joe's
Tyler,
motion.
you got 3 minutes. Go ahead, Jonathan.
Oh, unless Tyler wants to be heard, I will second Joe's motion.
Um, so I was doing a little calculating. If somebody does a single $1,500 transaction online, that's roughly the $50.
And there is an opportunity on our Square site for just a straight donation, and that's not we're not going to be able to recover fees on donation. That'll just have to be we'll just have to take that as a very generous gift of the donation and take the fee as a cost of the donation. So the
Yeah.
motion on the floor is go ahead. I'm sorry, Dan.
Oh, yeah. If somebody gives us $100 online, we'll be like, thank you for your $97 or whatever.
Thank you. Yep. So the motion on the floor is to increase our dues via Square to be $21 and to increase the Huntsville bus trip fee via Square to $125, with that being noted as covering the convenience fee for Square. Motion made by Joe, seconded by Jonathan. All in favor? Say aye.
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 All right. Any nays? All right. Just wanted to check. Motion did carry. All right, Tyler, we'll give you the last 90 seconds before you depart to say anything that you might need us to know about before you head out, because I know you had a hard stop at 7:30, and we'll talk about a couple other things real quick and then try to get out of here.
Yeah, no, just seemed field day went great. Kids had a good time. Holly had a good time. So looking forward to what the future holds. And sorry I gotta pop out early, but I got to, and I will see y'all on Tuesday.
All right. Thanks,
Awesome.
Tyler.
I want everybody to know you got great kids and it's recorded. Now everybody online knows too.
Absolutely. I
Thank
would
you.
second that in a heartbeat. Amazing.
They're a hoot. Thank y'all all very much.
Thanks, Tyler. All right, Joe. We'll circle up on the bus trip real quick, and then we'll circle back around to Steve to talk a little bit about Expo. And I'll try to get us out of here in the next 10 to 12 minutes.
Well, the bus trip, we've got funds now for that has covered the actual bus, and I look forward to getting a few more people on to where uh, we're at about we're at 27 paid, and with Dan and you, that's 29, and all we need is 6 more, and it should break even.
Fantastic. That is fantastic news. So everybody invite one more person. That would be great.
And we do have 2 tables at the Ham Fest
All right.
flea market.
Any questions or concerns around the bus trip? All right, hearing none. Thank you, Joe. Steve, we'll circle back and circle back around to the expo and anything you want to share with us on that.
Yeah. I'm sorry that I haven't done a whole lot up till now, but we have been kind of busy with field day and other things. So, as I said, I didn't say anything before, but I went to the Knoxville Hamfest a week or two before field day just to see what theirs was like because they've been doing it for like 50 years. And I will say that I was a little underwhelmed with theirs compared to ours, really. They did not have any vendors. I was one reason why I went is I was hoping to, talk to some of the vendors. They really did not have anybody there. I am planning. Nashville's got one. It's actually in Lebanon. Has got one this weekend, and I'm planning on going to that. Chat radio is supposed to be there, and I'm assuming there'll be some others. I think since it's more central, talking to David Norris and uh, our state representative from ARRL. I think Nashville does have a little bit better ham fest that I've never been to before. So I am planning and hoping to talk to some of the vendors there and talk to them and get some more ideas. Going to some other places, and then after that, we'll start doing some more on ours. I was going to talk to them about the date. It does look like we're not going to be able, I don't think at all be able to do that second week because the home expo's pretty much taken over the Agri Center the second weekend. But we'll just have to work around that. It's since we're something new, we just got to accept that and work with it.
Just as a quick note, Steve, we do have permission to lock 2 years. So
Yes.
let's get that.
Yes.
Let's get that. I guess that third week. Let's see what's available. Reach out. Let's see if we can get our dates locked for the next 2 years.
Yeah.
Because we need to get the. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
We need to get the 2028 date locked because Dave Norris is committing to bring the ARRL sectional to us in 2028. So we really want to try to get that date locked.
Yeah.
So we can say, okay, this is when it's going to be.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and that's another one that's down in Shreveport. And off the top of my head, I'm wanting to say it's in August. I'm planning on going down there, and I talked to Norris about that at Knoxville. And he said, yeah, that would be a good idea to go down there and kind of see how they do the convention and start learning about that. So that's another one I'm planning on going to. But yeah, it's been kind of on hold, not on hold, but hadn't done a lot with it. But I still feel like we can after this month we can start moving forward, and I don't see any problem for next year.
All right. Any questions to Steve regarding the expo for 2027?
Thank you, Steve.
Oh, no problem.
Yep. Thank you a lot. I appreciate
Thank
all the
you.
extra work you've done and the extra videos you posted. And let us know how we can help you get those dates, and we'll work through that. And there is, just as an aside, there is encumbered monies to cover that for the expo to the deposits. Just let us know when that's necessary.
Okay, yeah, we'll go ahead, and I feel like by the end of this month, I should be able to, I'll get back with y'all, and we'll lock that down and start moving forward. So.
All right. We'll circle around real quick. Is there anything, I'll just ask real quick to the group, is there anything that someone would like to say that they haven't been able to say? So just raise your hand. We'll just raise your hand and let us know. We'll address it.
Only thing on 2028, Easter is April the 16th. In 2027, it's in March the 28th. So I think we need to stay off of Easter weekend.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Most definitely. All right. I have nothing further for everyone. We don't have any old business on the table. Would certainly entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion made by Perry and seconded by
I'll second that.
Adam seconded that. All right, all in favor of adjourning. Aye.
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 Thank you so much, everyone. I appreciate all the service that you give to the club and the time and the effort and the energy. It is not unnoticed, and it does take additional time above and beyond. So thank you very much for that time. And with that, I'll say good night.